Oh, it's good. I'm gonna make some meatballs today. I ran into Whole Foods and got this big package of meat on sale, which makes it even better. Okay, I'm gonna put my bag down. And what I'm gonna do is make these super easy meatballs that everybody in the house is gonna enjoy. And I'm gonna show you how quick and easy it is to cook a little bit of meat. I am on the carnivore diet right now, and so I just love that diet. I'm doing really good on it, and it's for me. You know, it's not for everybody, but regardless, people do like meatball grinders, spaghetti and meatballs, whatever, different stuff. These can work for hors d'oeuvres, however you like them. All right, so what I do is I'm gonna warm this up. I love to cook meat. Any meat I'm cooking, I love to use cast iron. Cast iron's awesome. And I'm cooking on the counter today, the island, so you can see it. I want you to be able to see it instead of my stove behind me. So you want to get that heated. Whenever you're cooking with cast iron, it has to be preheated before you put the meat into the, the pan. Another tip is when you're making any kind of meat, if you can leave the meat out for a little while and it becomes more room temperature, the meat will be more tender when you cook it and just more juicy and tender. You don't want to take it right out of the cold refrigerator and then plop it into a preheated pan. That is not the way to do it. So just those are two little tips for you. I don't put any oil or anything in the cast iron skillet because meat has enough oil in it when you're cooking it. So you don't really have to worry about that. I like to make my meatballs bite-sized. I'm going to tell you a reason why. First of all, you can eat them with a toothpick. They're just very easy. They're more kid size if you have kids. And so I make them just, pretty small. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually not going to put it in the pan yet because what I want to do is make them all first. And I put them on this plate right here. Just roll them. You don't pack them tight. You don't roll them and roll them and roll them and roll them until they're like completely smooth little marbles. That's not the way you do it. You just want to get them to the shape you want and that they'll hold together and then put them down. And then of course, if you wanted to and you wanted to make great big meatballs, you could do the same exact thing. Just use, more meat in each one and make them really big. But I think if you try this recipe, you should start with the small ones and you will like it better. Okay, so I'm just going to continue doing this until this whole pack of meat is done. Just a few minutes though, that's the good part. It doesn't take as long as you think and you can make like a good amount. And if you just live by yourself, there's just 2 people in your family, what's nice about it is, you'll have extras. You can freeze them or just keep them in the refrigerator and you can eat them for 2 or 3 days in a row, which I don't mind doing that. I'm the kind of person, I can eat the same thing for a while. I can eat leftovers. I can eat the same food for a while. Especially if it's like tasty and good. I'm not that picky. All right, so I have enough made, and to make things go quicker, I'm gonna show you what I do. I am gonna quickly wash my hands. All right, so the next step I'm gonna do before I put them in the pan is I just make it straight out of the package and make the little meatballs here. I don't mix anything in with them. I just want them pure meat. That's how I like them, that's how I want them. And then now I'll sprinkle the salt on them. I make them kind of salty though. I do like them kind of salty. And it's funny because when you're eating the carnivore diet, you do like salt. And somehow you actually don't retain water weight. It's really weird. It's weird, man. Okay, so now I have my little pinchers. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set them all in here. And here's the key though to making them good. Get them all in there. I'm gonna buy a professional one of these. Let me just show you what this is while I'm doing the meatballs. I'm using just this cake pan because when you're trying to lose weight, you don't need cake, and you can use the cake pan for something else, which I just love that, right? Repurpose and recycle stuff. All right, so I have all these meatballs in here, not too many, and I'm gonna cover them with this little cake pan, and this makes the meatballs cook so good. They make this actual thing called a grilling dome, I think it is, which I'm gonna get one of those. And you know, it's a little bit bigger in diameter, so you can fit more under it. Okay, and then you just keep going. You know, you just keep making the meatballs while those are cooking until you get the whole pan done. Cast iron is like the most awesome cookware, especially if you like to eat meat and you want to eat meat. For one thing, cast iron is very durable. You can cook on the stove top, you can use it in the oven, and if you like to go camping like I do, you can use it camping. This stuff is like nothing destroys it. It is the most durable, awesome thing. And not only is it durable though, like that's just one quality that I love about it, but it really cooks the food really good because that whole metal pan gets hot and it's just even temperature. A lot of pans will just get like hold the heat and be hot on the bottom only. And somehow that's just not even cooking and things don't come out as good, is my opinion. When I cook in a cast iron, whatever recipe it is, it always comes out better if I use cast iron, as opposed to like, I've tried them all, you know. Stainless steel, enamel, I've even tried copper. By far my favorite is the cast iron. And it is heavy. I mean, that's kind of like one drawback, if you want to call it a drawback, but you know, we don't want to turn into weaklings. We got to keep our strength up, so use the heavy cast iron. It's good for you in more than one way, right? Another good thing about cast iron is it's not expensive. I mean, I love to like browse through antique stores and like junk stores and flea markets. You can find cast iron everywhere. There is no shortage of cast iron, and you can also buy it new. And a lot of times we can get it from like a relative. There's a lot of times like grandma, you know, she's not cooking as much anymore, which we could be cooking for grandma. And she could donate us her cast iron and then, you know, pass it down. And grandma'd probably love to see you cooking in her cast iron. Okay, so you can see how quickly I've made like a lot of meatballs. This would feed a lot of people. Alrighty, so now that I washed my hands, threw the meat thing away, I'm gonna sprinkle these meatballs with salt, the new ones. And it's so funny, when you start eating more meat, you're gonna be like, oh, don't put too much salt on it, that looks like a lot. But then when you taste it, it'll be like, oh, that's not that much salt. And here's the funny reason why. Processed food has so much sodium in it that you get used to that and you don't see anybody shaking the salt on there, so you're like, well, I don't use a lot of salt. You might not use a lot of salt, but you could be eating a lot of salt if you eat a lot of processed food. So when you make your own food and it just comes natural and then you have to add the salt in, it'll look like, wow, I'm using a lot. It won't be nearly as much salt as you were eating when you were eating processed foods. So that's just something to keep in mind, you know, when you're salting your food when you're cooking fresh from home. Okay, so when you're using the cooking dome, you can see how the meatballs not only brown on the bottom, they, you know, start cooking on the top. So it speeds things up when you use the cooking dome. Okay, so I just turn these a little bit. So I'm gonna do this kind of quickly. You don't wanna overcook them, that's the thing. I broke that one a little bit. Okay, so then I'm gonna put this back on top. Doop. Okay, so now I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do next. All right, I have 2 little cans of organic tomato paste. So I'm gonna open both of these and I'm gonna put them in this pot over here. Because as the meatballs are gonna be, you know, cooked, and I do love to recycle, so I'm gonna recycle these little tiny cans. One thing I love about the tomato paste is it's a whole food. So we can buy Whole Foods at Whole Foods. But it is better for you. And you might be like, oh, that's like, how's that gonna turn into like some kind of spaghetti sauce? It's not really exactly spaghetti sauce. It's kind of like just a version of spaghetti sauce. And then what I do is I come to the sink and I just run the water, which I'm gonna step over there and do that. I run the water, get it really hot, and then I just put 4 cans of water in here. So I just mix this tomato paste up in this pan, get that kind of dissolved in the water, and then of course you're gonna have to add spice because we started with a whole food. So again, I'm gonna put a little salt in here. This is sea salt. I love the flavor of sea salt. I think sea salt has a very good flavor to it. I do want to add that there's no iodine in this, so you have to eat regular salt sometimes too. Okay, so since this meatball pan is not hot, I'm going to set it over here. I'm going to set this hot thing right there. Now I'm going to get these little meatballs and just plop them in the sauce. Plop, plop, plop. It's that easy. It is just so easy. And then when they're all cooked and they're all in the pot, I'll put the pot on the stove and just simmer, very, very slow simmer until everything's, you know, just nice and warm and cooked through. All right, so there's those. And now I'm going to get some more of these in here and cover them up. It goes really fast. That's what I like about this, is how fast you can make a very hearty meal. And like I said, everybody in the house is going to love this. I already have people in my house going, It's like, get until I'm done making them. So people might say, what's the recipe? There isn't a recipe. It's pure meats with salt and pepper. Just meatballs, pure meat. That's the recipe. And just make them small. That's my suggestion. Start out with small ones. For one thing, they cook faster. And you know, who wants to be like over here, like just like slaving away for hours and hours cooking when everybody's drooling in the house and you're like fighting them off, get back. You kind of want to get things done quickly so you can do other stuff around the house. All the meatballs are cooked. This is the last few. I'm going to put them in the pot here. And this is a big pot full of meatballs. Looks really good. So it didn't take long at all to do this. I mean, for a big meal, and you can just imagine if you wanted to, and you made like this huge pot of spaghetti, a big pot of pasta, this would be a huge meal, very quick and easy. So I'll just give these a little stir. And now what I'm going to do is I just leave them simmer in this pot. You can see how the sauce, I made it, it's very thin. I'm going to show you. Kind of watery. That's the way I want it. I don't want thick spaghetti sauce, because that's not what I'm doing right now. You know, everybody's different. All right, so I'm going to cover it back up here and let this simmer for a few minutes. And done, I'm going to eat it. All right, I have to have a little taste of this and see if it needs anything. Oh, it's good. I think it's all ready. It's been simmering. Oh yes, it looks good. Okay, I'm gonna put a few in the bowl here and then I'm gonna eat them. Because that's what we made them for. You gotta put a little sauce in there. Like I said, my sauce is like runny sauce, which I love it that way. It's soupy. I'm gonna cut one in half and give it a little tester bite and tell you how good it is. Now, if you weren't on a diet and you weren't trying to lose weight like I am, you could have like some nice crusty bread and dip it in the sauce and eat it with your meatball. Here we go. It's the tester bite. Usually I have a line of people wanting to eat the tester bite. It tastes really good. That's a wrap on the meatball recipe.